Hi y'all, this is Fully the Learn to Grow guy. Welcome to the Figurama. Well, that's just a word I just made up. The goal for today is that we're going to take a brand newly acquired fig plant and we're going to convert it into 5 or 4 brand new fig plants. And basically the type of fig that was just purchased is called an Olympian fig. Okay, it's an Olympian fig. All right, and that's the goal for today. This is the fig tree. It's still in the back of the car. As you can see, it says Fig Olympian, and it's 5G. That means that I can use the phone with it. No, just kidding about that. Okay, it's still in the back of my car, but look, this is the reason why I picked out this particular fig, okay? As you can see here in the base, basically what I've got is I got this one, this one, this one, that's 3, and this is 4. Okay, I'm looking at, if everything goes out right, I'm looking at least at the minimum having 4 different plants. This here could be an actual bonus plant. And I'm going to prepare for it just to be on the safe side. As you can see that it's got a union here. It's joined. These little segments down here, these smaller segments down here, they may be able to make a 5th plant. But all I can say is that let's wait and see. And again, this is my 5G Olympian fig. Okay, and we're going to try to split that up into 5 different plants. Okay, here's what I've done. What I've done is that I've picked up some mushroom compost from down the driveway. Okay, and I've taken some old potted dirt from the pots I have over there. Okay, those are empty at this point. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix them to give me the mixing soil that I have a need for, so I can fill these pots here with the plants we're going to get from this Olympian fig. Okay, the goal right now is actually to try to get this material mixed. Okay, remember I've got the old stuff which has some old roots in it, which is, to me, it's gonna, as it degrades, it becomes biomatter in the soils anyway. Okay, so the goal is to mix the stuff that came from the pots right along with the nice brown mushroom compost. Oh, even found an old tag. Put that down right there. You really want to try to mix this as thorough as possible to make sure that you get the mushroom compost all throughout. Okay, now you can use whatever other soil mixes that you want, but for me this is what I have readily available, so therefore that's what I'm using. Remember, one of the things about being out here is that you don't have to go out into the stores and buy everything you need. You can make your own compost. You can make your own just about anything you have a need for to grow your plants the way you need to grow them. If you look behind me, well, further behind me, you'll see that I've got pine trees growing back there. And in other parts of the property, there's actually deciduous trees that's out there. Again, everything out here can actually be used. The pine tree needles that fall to the ground, that stuff can be used to make compost, not compost, but mulch around your plants that like a more acidic type of environment. Okay, so I guess on another video down the line, I'll show you what I've been doing right over there with the blueberry plants, as to how I've got pine needle leaves that I collected from right over there, okay, right back there, and I got that as a mulch around the blueberry plants. Like I said, I'll show that to you in another video, and that's down the line. But like I said, you want to do a thorough job. Get the stuff mixed quite well. Yeah, He-Man! And by the way, He-Man is not just a character. That was from that TV show, He-Man. If you read the scriptures, you'll see that there was a guy named He-Man. That's in the scriptures, in the stories of David. I guess it was a manly of a man. Okay, so I think I've got that mixed properly. The next thing I need to try to do now is actually to take the fig tree, pull it out, and start trying to get rid of some of the soil, okay? And I'm saying you got to get rid of some of the soil because I want to gain access to the roots. I want to gain access to the roots so that I can assess what I've got, if it's going to be an easy cut or not, or even if it's even doable. One thing I do know about these fig trees is that they'll make it through a lot, and yeah, they'll make it through a lot. They're durable. Well, they may not like the cold too much, but these trees can so easily be planted in anything. Well, I don't want to say anything. They actually like the soil to be looser, you know, like this type of stuff. And this type of stuff, if you go to the deciduous parts of your property where you have trees that fall, if you remove the top layer of leaves in the woods, you can actually find some stuff like this. It's been composted over the years, and worms and everything would typically make their way into it. And you can easily get some of that stuff. You can make compost. You can that's been composted, and there you can actually do some of your planting, or you can use them to feed some of your plants. See, this has got a lot of new growth of roots. I hate disrupting it like that, but and I may be doing more harm to this than it needs. I'm thinking that maybe one of the things I probably need to do is put it in water and shake it up some. So let's see what we're able to do first. Yeah, this is like it's somewhat root bound. I don't know if you can see or not. That those roots seem like it's growing around in circles like this. They're trying to keep everything bound up. I'm trying to, well, it's still dormant. I'm not sure if it's going to do that much damage to it, but I guess we'll find out in the spring sometimes, huh? Huh. This is interesting. I'm seeing a very well rounded root area here and another layer of roots here, which means that they took this out of an old pot here, an older and smaller pot, well, I guess a smaller pot, and they transferred this to a larger one. And this growth out here with the whites and stuff like that, that's the white roots. Looks like that's where the new growth, where it was growing into the new pot. And here I come destroying everything, right? Okay, I think I'm gonna pause. I don't wanna waste your time and have you keep watching something that's not all that meaningful. So I think I'm gonna give a pause and continue taking this out. And after I have it taken apart, I'll go ahead and start videoing again. Okay, I've taken as much of the soil off as I could. I mean, it's looking nice and all. Okay, see, I've taken as much of the soil off as I could, and I don't know if you can see, this is sort of like on the rounded side. I know it's not 3D, it's not 3D TV, but this is where the old pot, this is where the constraints of the old pot was. I don't know if you can see how some of these roots, they're like going in like a circle, what have you. But what I've decided to do is I decided that I'm going to cut this as if I'm trying to split some bulbs. Okay, I'm going to try to do two cuts this way and that way, and I'm hoping that I get enough roots on each of the segments so that I'm able to do the separation. Now, whether or not this other piece here is going to, if I'm going to be able to take this other segment out, we'll wait and see as we do the cutting, but that's what I've got to do, okay? I will be performing the surgery right here in front of you. Now, this is a tool that I was looking at trying to use. Anyway, and It's got a blade on it. It's not super sharp. Well, it's sharp enough that I could use to cut it, to try to cut it. Maybe I will try it. And it's got a serrated side on this side as well. Um, I don't get paid for sharing any of this stuff, okay? Somebody had mentioned to me that I get paid from YouTube. I get all that YouTube money. It's not happening as of yet, okay? I'm hoping to down the line, but not at this time. So anyway, this is what I was looking at using, but instead I'm thinking about using something much more different. This is a little butcher knife, you know, nice and sharp. Nice pretty edges, nice shiny and everything. So this is what I'm going to try to use to do the cutting. And I'm thinking that maybe I'll start with the other one first, and then I'll try to finish up with this as necessary. Okay. And again, you always want to wear gloves because you don't want to take a chance on cutting yourself. I am not Tim the Toolman Taylor. I'm not claiming that name because Tim always got hurt whenever he did his projects, okay? And I'm not trying to get hurt here, okay? So here we go. Okay, here's what I done did. I went to the greenhouse and got one of these babies. It's a pruning saw, and I'm thinking that's the only thing I'm going to be able to use. This baby and I have some history. As a matter of fact, back in Chicago, I even cut Tim the Toolman Taylor. Okay, I've got a cut here on this finger, right there. It was done by this baby. Cut an artery, had to get some stitches put on. Again, I'm not claiming the name Tim the Toolman Taylor, okay? So here we go. I'm going to try to cut it with this saw here. Hopefully it'll get through. I think it's the right tool for the job. And I seem to be making progress. Yep. Trying to rip it with the bare hands, rip the roots apart. And okay, I'll show you both halves. See, we did have the original branches and such. Okay, you can see that that's all the yellower part. And on the other half, looks like this one's already loose. See that? So I'll see if I can separate that one. Maybe it'll be easier separation than the rest of it. I'm hoping there's plenty of roots that come along with it. I don't want to, gonna try to cut it and get it to separate. Gotta wash my fingers. I don't want to have to go back and get more stitches. Okay, so this one has some roots attached to it. Since it's on the dormant side, my desire is that it continues to do its thing over the winter, for the rest of the winter. And by the spring, it should flower, not flower, but it should start leafing out and do what it's supposed to do. This will be the first one. And this one here, I'm trying to see if it's possible to separate these so I can get two plants out of this one. If you remember, I had this main branch and then there's this other segment here. I'm trying to see if I can separate these, and hopefully if they're okay, I'm hoping. No, it all feels like it's all part of one. I'm thinking that I can probably still split it. And the good thing about figs is that they're resilient. Okay, they're resilient. I'm banking on their resiliency, and I want to see what happens with this one. I'm sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. And again, it's the whole thing with the separation thing. Here we go. See, I've separated them, so I've got 2 plants now. So altogether, I've got 3 so far. And now the thing is to separate this duo. This dynamic duo, they're like Batman and Robin, right? So if I can separate them, that'll be great. Oh, by the way, if you're going to borrow your wife's, your father's, your mother's, your sister's butcher knife, make sure you wash them thoroughly before you put them back. Okay? And you got to do whatever sneaky thing you got to do to get them back so that you don't get busted. Okay? All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish cutting this one up. I don't want to waste your time on that one. So stand by. Okay, here's what we've got, okay? This one came out with the least amount of roots when I cut it and separated from, the Batman and Robin duo, okay? And here's what we've got. This is number 3. This is a number 4. And this is number 5. Looks like we may even possibly have a 6th one. Yep, it'll be a small one, but nonetheless, it is what it is. And, yeah, okay? So altogether, it looks like we're going to end up with 6 fig plants. And the key thing is that to get them potted, get them planted, so that they're able to do what they need to do, okay? Okay, and now for the potting process. Remember what I've told you guys before, okay? You don't always have to use gloves when you're working with soil and things of that nature. There is a grounding effect that happens when you handle the soil and stuff like that, especially on the ground in the garden on its own, all right? There is that thing that happens as to where you get grounded. It helps you out with your health. And if you're interested in that, you can look up grounding. All I'm going to do right now is I'm going to try to get these plants potted. And I'm thinking that for this small stick here, I'm putting, even though it doesn't have too much stuff on it, I'm sticking it into the ground, and there seems to be an extra node here. You see that the roots are here around this node. Okay, looks like it may even send off another plant, another stem out, but nonetheless, I've got this here, this here. I'm going to bury this deep enough so that it gets some very deep roots going, okay? So even though I'm sticking into there, now I'm going to lean it over some, okay? Because I want it to grow straight, okay? It's already crooked. So all I'm doing is just putting the stuff mixed in there, patting it down a little bit. And that's pretty much it, okay? That's pretty much it for this one, okay? All right, now I've got 5 more to do. And one thing to keep in mind is that when you buy your trees, your plants, or whatever it is that you're buying, to put in your garden, my recommendation is to save these containers, okay? Because that's where all this stuff came from. All this stuff is pots that I've bought plants in before, and all I'm doing is that I'm repurposing them. I'm giving them new life, I mean, who doesn't want to save some money? Who enjoys just blowing all their money and buying everything new all the time and this, that, and the other? I'm sorry, but I don't have an endless supply of money at this time. Well, I could always ask my father for all that I need, but I'm not exactly on the greedy side. I'm sorry. I don't have that greed spectrum thing going. So, okay. See that? That's number 2. Remember the variety? It's Olympian. And if you look up the Olympian fig, you'll see that it's a fairly large fig. Okay? It's larger. It bears something larger than what I can get from the Chicago variety. Okay? I'm not going to waste your time. So I'm going to keep planting. Okay, slight change of plans. These 2 roots are too large for the container that I have selected. Okay? Too large. All right? So what we're going to do, we're going to cast these aside, and we're going to use these larger containers, okay? See that? Look, the whole thing will fit in there just fine. and this is the larger of the two. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish these up, and I'll show you the finished product. And by the way, before I forget to tell you, that this same process that I'm doing here with these figs, you can also do them when you buy your veggies for your garden in the summer. Okay, if you actually buy plants in those little containers that I don't like, those little plastic containers, if you select the plants that have multiple plants, you can take them home and separate them and plant each of those individually, and therefore you actually get more plants for the money that you're spending. All right, I mean, like this here, this is what, 5, call it 6 plants. I think I paid $30 some odd for this particular plant here. So I've got 5 times the number of plants that I could have gotten for the money. Otherwise, that's 3, 6, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's at least $150, $160. Excuse my finger math, okay? That's at least $150, $160 worth of plants that I've got now, instead of having just the one, okay? Just something to consider. Okay, finished all the planting, okay? I don't know if you remember that old TV show when they would go out and help these families remodel their homes, or they would build a brand new home for them and stuff like that. And they would stand out in front of where the house is, and there would be a truck or something blocking the view. Well, I need you guys to say something, okay? Check this out. You gotta say, move the wheelbarrow. Come on, y'all. Move the wheelbarrow. Move the wheelbarrow. Move the wheelbarrow. Okay, here we go. Okay, here's what we've got. Ta-da! Oh, excuse me. I'm getting a little bit too young now, okay? Okay, this is the largest one. And, well, you know what? I'll just walk you through them all somewhat, okay? This is the smallest one. I think you saw that one from the beginning. All right? Remember, I planted this one a little on the crooked side because the plant was already crooked. And the good thing is, check out the tip. It still has that good tip on it, okay? Here's the next one. Had to put this one in a larger container because it was, heavier. It's this one along with the first one that I just showed you. And this is the next one. The next comedian. Okay, they're looking pretty good. They're all looking pretty good. So the key thing is that you want to do this type of stuff to these plants, not to the vegetables. The vegetables, when you buy them from the stores, if they have multiple plants on them, where you can split them and get multiple plants, you want to try to do those while they're still green, growing, thriving and such, okay? Now, these plants here, since this fig was in the dormant state, it's easy to split it that way. Typically during the winter months, even though we don't see much happening on the top of trees, I'm going to go to this apple tree for example. Even though we don't see much happening in top of the trees, typically underground the roots are still doing their thing. They're still growing. They're still taking care of business underground, typically, okay? And this particular plant here is no different. Figs are no different, all right? So the goal is they're going to keep growing. And as they grow, I'm talking about under the ground now, okay, under the soil. As they keep growing, the roots get stronger, and by the time spring comes around, in about, I don't know, maybe a month or so, by the time it gets warm enough, they'll start to do their thing. I'm not going to water them because, well, maybe I should. Well, I'll decide a little bit later. But in my opinion, since the soil that I use is actually very moist, you see that? It's very moist. Look at my hand, it's still wet. You see what I'm saying? So that's the reason I'm looking at not watering them. However, I did pat them all down as I put them in the pots so that they're able to, the roots are touching something. You know, they're touching the soil. So that's basically what I've got for you, okay? And the goal is, again, to bear much fruit. And you know what? It'd be a good idea. Heavenly Father, I ask that you please touch these plants, let them all survive, let them all thrive, let them all do what they're supposed to do, which is to bear much fruit. All in Jesus' name, amen. All right, I thought that's pretty cool. Anyway, y'all take care, okay?